Hey, can you hear me now? How about now? Let me know if you can hear me. I'll go into the feed at the end. All right, cool. All right, you can hear me. All right, great. Thank you. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard, but that wasn't me. So I'm going to go back and just redo this super quickly. I know you guys saw that, but there's actually commentary that I think is important. And man, this thing's killing me with this StreamYard. I got to get another service. I really do. So here's the thing, and I want to just go through this. If you come in at 0.4, the number is 0.3. This is really important, so I'm going to redo it. If you come in at 0.4, right, you're going to sell off like a pig, period. End of story. I'll spend 10 seconds on it. You just are. Anything in between 3.5 to 4, you're going to sell down. 3 to 3.5, you're probably okay. 2.5 to 3, you're going to go up. And then from here, 0.2, you're going to just rip. Anything 2.5, you're going to rip. So if you're skewed, like if you were to look at the skew, it's very clear you're skewed to the upside on this. And that's where their skew is. They're skewed to the upside. Now they're predicting, and the skew is predicting, and I went through this last night, so I'm not going to bore you all with it again, because 8 minutes this is coming out. But the skew is predicting that you're going to go up. And you should be able to pick that up with, here you are, and here's 30% that way, right? Here's 70% that way with 25 bips to the downside of risk and 2.5 to the upside. So they're telling you that you're going higher is what they think is going to happen on this. So the numbers, so why I'm laughing is because if the number's a pig, like the market's going to get hosed because they're all leaning on one side of the ship right now. It doesn't mean that they're wrong. But if you were to position it for yourself in the next 7 minutes, you probably want to hit the buy button, right? But if it's wrong, you're going to go the other way. Second thing I was going through is Tesla. Negative news, stocks bidding up. I had this chart up as something I went through privately with the room, but I might as well do it since it's here. What you're seeing here and what I think is super important is I'm short this. I have puts on this. And they did an excellent job overnight of trapping shorts. Like, just absolute classic, excellent job of trapping shorts. And I'll explain it. So I have the 325 puts, right? So I have all night to marry puts to my stock and just hedge this. I could have came in this morning, sold the stock right around 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm up anyway. So I could have came in, sold the stock in Asia or through the overnight system on one of my systems, right? And locked in the entire gain on the puts and had free puts on Tesla for all week. But they gap it up. So when it's gapped up, you're hosed. You can't do the hedge the same way. So they really have shorts very trapped here. And I say that as somebody that's trapped, but I mean, I'll get out of it. I'm like freaking Houdini with this stuff. So the thing about it is that's telling me that they're going to try and squeeze them today. And that means that off the open, you might see that. But a lot of this is going to depend on CPI. So we'll figure that part of it out. What I think is the most important thing to realize is that we want to watch this number and kind of go from there and see how it acts, right? So the first thing that we should do is just jump into stuff like in my opinion, the ES is ready. But the NQ, I have to wait for over that stuff. That some of these names I think are like there's important levels where you want to watch like AVGO. You want to watch that 243 level and see how it acts. But, you're not running on the AI names, are you? You're just not. You're not running on those names. So I would just watch this 246 to roughly that 241.30 level and go from there. PLTR, the thing about PLTR, because I know you guys are going to ask, unless I get over 135 or I get over this area, I have no interest. I think that's really it. There might be another level up here that's of interest, but that's really where I'm at. And I'd be super careful with these charts. Down, up 1, 2, 3, down. Realistically, that's a short right there. And I know people don't want to hear that, but that's a short. Like if you break this, you really want to watch that area here, because you close below that, you have a short on your hands, because you're at the top of the chart. And if this starts rolling at the top of the chart, man, oh man, that's going to be nasty. And that's a perfect rising 3 on a candlestick pattern. So I would watch that. I would watch those levels pretty closely and just pay attention to them. MSTR is super interesting because the NAV is changing, and then people got super excited about it, but I don't think there's much to do there. The cool thing about MSTR, and I know you guys are going to ask about this one, so let's just do it, is the fact that I've got 4 minutes here, so we might as well knock it out, make some money off of this. But you see that, like, right in here, how you are, see how this is acting, right? So what you'd want to pay attention to here more than anything is, like, I got close to that VWAP on the peak, and I kind of hit it like a cat in a hot tin roof, didn't I? And then I throw these in and realize, oh, the 55's there. And when I got near that, this is what happened. But wait, there's more. Here's the 200. So everything's starting to align again and point up. I think it's really important to get that. So yeah, I think there's a level there, but I don't think that you need to really pay attention to that. Amazon looks fine to me. I don't think there's much to put out there. I don't think there's much to say about it. I don't think that I need to go over Amazon in great detail. I don't think I need to go over Meta in great detail. I don't think there's much to say there. It is what it is. I'm long this, just FYI, but you're breaking out. There's not much to say there. You guys are going to ask about Meta. What's to say? You need to flip the hammer, right? Like you have a dragonfly at the top of the chart. Unless you flip it, don't pay attention to it. What I would say that you should pay attention to with Meta, and I'm just going to say this on the daily, is that when you have these kinds of bars right here, see that bar? Let's mark that off perfectly because that's super important. We'll mark that off. So when you have these kinds of bars, and this is kind of important, might as well do a real quick lesson in 30 seconds here. Do you see how you undercut that right there? And then you rip in its face? Okay, that's a liquidity grab. It's plain and simple. It just is. So when you go and take a look at this stuff, and we'll drop it to a bear chart, and we'll drop this here, and then we'll get set for the event. But you see, like this kind of stuff, and the wicks and the drop downs. But see how, like here, all it did was come down, grab everything it possibly can, and it didn't even stay there. Like it couldn't even stay there, and then it just ripped in your face. Why? Because they had so much buying there. That's where you want to buy, like that kind of stuff. So when you see this, you really want to pay attention to it. You really want to pay attention to this kind of stuff. And it's really important to get that, especially if you're a trader. Like a lot of people are buying the breakouts. You don't have 1.7 behind you anymore. So just understand that. That's why the breakouts aren't working the same way. You're not getting the same oomph out of them. Anyway, let's watch how this plays out. We got a minute here. But that's a liquidity grab. And you always watch how they act off of them. I teach these over and over in the room. One of the guys in the room that's like newer, that's starting to get it, like he saw this one. And he's like, that's a liquidity grab. And I'm like, yep, yeah, it is. And then if you look at that from 15 and like watch what it does, like it's so interesting to watch. Like all you did was come down to that level on here. It's not perfect. It's going to bother me. Say it right there. Like all you did was come down to this level and then you just ripped. And so you go to it and you look at the volume and look at all that volume right around there. They couldn't get in fast enough and the stock never looked back. So you could see something like that with Meta, 30 seconds. So let's go and let's do it. Then we'll go from there, see what this data's got to say, and then make money off of it. China's deal's done, but not really because they have to approve it. So I don't know. Whenever I see stuff like that, it scares me. It means the number's probably not great. but we're about to find out. 4, 3, 2. It's like Happy New Year, isn't it? There's your answer. Boom shakalaka. So month over month came down year over year. CPI 2.4. 2.4. So the forecast was 2.4 and you came in line. Trying to figure out why the absolute rip in the market. Give me a minute here to go through it all. Give me a minute to figure this out and try to figure out why you're ripping like that. because I don't see it yet. I don't see that as the reason why I would rip. And we'll go from there. Give me one more second, check one more thing. Maybe I'm missing it. Yep. Yeah, maybe I'm missing it here. Core inflation, that can't be right. Oh God, you're gonna rip. You'll rip on this. You should absolutely unequivocally rip on this number. Yeah, you should rip on this. You should rip on this. So if you don't rip on this, you're going to have an issue. Core inflation 0.1, you should rip on this. You should push on this. Let's see what you're doing here. But you should 100% rip on this. Let me see something here. You should like really rip on this. I'm surprised you're not higher, because the chances of a rate cut now are even better. So it should really push. Let's see what you're going to do here. You should really push on this number. So it's kind of interesting if you don't. I don't even think you're going to be able to drop very far, but let's see. They're great numbers, guys. Like great numbers. I'm gonna just copy them and I'll show them to you. But they're great numbers. You should go higher on this. 0.128, 0.124. So it doesn't really get any better than that. I mean, from what you want from an equity standpoint, it really doesn't get any better than that. So you should actually push on this. The fact that you're not lifting yet, it's kind of interesting, but I think you will push. Surprised that you're not really doing more than this, but I think you're going to. I do. I think you're going to push. Let's go through some of this stuff. Yeah, there it goes. There goes some of this stuff. Let's start looking at this from the pre and the post. So, yep. Yep. Yeah, you should go. It should. You should go. There it is. You should be able to hold here. What was the move? How big was it? 68 basis points. It's trading exactly with the NQ. Say it. Like exactly with it. Let's see what else is going on here. Consequence, if anything. No, nothing there. You're through, I think. I think ASTS got through, didn't it? No, you're at the highs. Didn't push through yet. Let's go to NVIDIA. You're through 45. So maybe that's all they were waiting for, and now it'll go. But yep. It looks that way, doesn't it? That's all they were waiting for. Man, you ripped. I do think you're going to push on it. I don't see why you would stop. I really don't. I mean, you might have individual names, but that's a pretty big number. You probably dropped a lot on the, let's go take a look at something real quick. You probably dropped a lot on the Fed watch. Let's go take a look at CME Fed watch and see if they updated that already. Because you probably changed pretty good here. Fed watch tool. Let's go take a look at the Fed watch tool really quickly and see if we can find something if they updated it yet. June, they're not going to do anything. July, go to September and see if there's any changes. Yeah, there's some changes for sure. So they actually moved to 2 rate cuts. They actually moved to 2 rate cuts. A little bit, like just a little. I'm just going to look at it. I'm not going to switch screens. There's too much going on here. Give me a sec. So the chances of a rate cut went up. Okay. Yeah, I think you're going to be absolutely all over the place here. But the theme to me is going to be that you're probably going to bounce and continue to bounce now off that level. It should be pretty crystal clear what happens here, but let's see how this goes. You're going to want to see if you're going to break out of that level right here. But so far you're holding. And I would think that you would. I would think that you would hold on this. But you never know. So we'll have to watch and go from there. But let's just go through and see if there's anything else of consequence that's actually happening. Let's go take a look at like TNA and see what they're doing. Are you ripping? Yeah. So small caps will go up, which means that the KOEs of the world are probably going to lift, which means DPST is going to lift, right? Because they'll buy regionals because they're going to cut rates. So that's probably a pretty easy trade. It's probably a really easy trade right there. They're just going to rip. That's probably why we saw this stuff all moving and leading. We couldn't figure out why it was leading. Right. Remember we talked about this on Saturday's video, like RTY was leading. That's why. Now you know. It's always something. There's always something. And you can see it right here. Like RTY is up 145. ES is where it is. NQ is up 50 basis points. Right. So like what's ripping? So pretty obvious what's ripping. So it's kind of interesting to watch, to see. And that'll probably continue and just rip everyone's face off. You can kind of see that already. So yeah, I don't see why it's not going to push like big time today, because they're going to have to cut rates. Like they just are. They're not going to really have a choice in the matter. I don't see how they have a choice but to cut rates now. So that on a 4 hour, what do you got going on there? Pretty clean break, isn't it? Right there. So yeah, I don't see how. I really don't. I don't see how that doesn't push. It's got it. Has to. Especially the regional side has to push. It doesn't really have a choice. So, I mean, that's how I see it anyway. What else you need from me? No, I can do that. Give me a sec here. I'll take some questions. I'll probably take the questions backwards today just because of what's going on. You're going to flip hard. Yep. Yep. You'd have to come all the way back down. The question is, do you have any chance of coming back down to that low, right? Probably not. That's a pretty clean break, especially if you get the close there. It's being super orderly so far, which is kind of funny because I don't think it's going to be that orderly off the open at all. Like at all. Because you're going to have panic because people are going to have that oh crap moment. I think they are. I could be wrong, but I think they're going to have to. How can they not? Because you're out of position. So TLT is probably ripping, right? Yep. Which means TMF's going to rip. Which means XLRE is going to be up. But what did XLF do? All right, it's on fire. So JP Morgan will go up. Right. So, I mean, there it is. I mean, there it is in a nutshell. There's your day. That looks perfect too, doesn't it? That's it. Left head, right, little mini head and shoulders. Probably going to take out the highs. I don't think you'll do it today, but I think they're gone. Especially with that kind of data. God, what's PPI going to look like tomorrow? All right, say some questions. Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to look at, like, if someone was to say to me, what sector has been getting destroyed that has the most potential? I mean, you would have to be looking at, from my standpoint, you'd have to be looking at some of these other names. You'd have to look at something like to me, you have to start looking at some of the RTY stuff now, because they're going to cut rates and they're going to probably, like, if he gets more data like this. Yeah, I mean, like here, like this is the stuff you're going to start seeing here. I'll grab a headline. Like, I don't need the headline because I just showed you how to do it through like the CME data, but like, watch. Here's the headlines you're going to start seeing. What is the issue with this here? It's like, see this headline, traders to add bets on September, start the Fed cut. So they're going to cut rates, right? So who benefits the most from that? It's going to be the financials. It's going to be KRE, all those kinds of banks. It's going to be, TNA, all that kind of stuff. So there's no question about it that stuff's going higher. It's just a matter of time. You're just going to have to stay with it and hold on to it. But you're going higher. You have to. And all the bonds will go higher. Like, all that stuff will push. Like, you just really don't have a choice in the matter. And I think that's super important for people to get. You really aren't going to have a choice in it. So watch today. But if I was you, and I'm telling you where I'm going with the questions, I'm just going to go late. Like, I'm going to go the people that are asking questions now, instead of going to the top, just because of the news that hit. Long-term IRA buys. I mean, I can't tell you what to do. I can't give financial advice. I for so many reasons, but like, I think you have to start looking at interest rate sensitive names and try to figure out, like, hey, where are these going? Does this make sense? Because I do think that, yeah, you have to start looking at that stuff and going, yeah, like, this definitely makes sense to start looking at those names. Does this become a, sell the news event? I don't know. I don't think so. I mean, it's a pretty good number. Could it become a sell the news event? Sure. 100% it could, but I don't see it that way. Quite the opposite. I think people are going to be like, oh, wait a minute, earnings are fantastic. Like, earnings are fantastic and inflation's dropping. So we're going to have increased productivity and they're going to cut rates, which has pretty much been my thesis on this entire market forever. But it looks like it's finally coming out. Unless, we get more liberation and freedom. So, yeah, that short I have, Scott, I got issues there, obviously. So, but you can see that like Tesla's holding pretty nicely in here. So you're probably going to go again today. I think you're going to have a real issue there on the short side. Well, I'm short, but I think I have a real issue. I think steel's a pretty interesting short here, actually. NTLX. NTLX, I don't even know what that is. NTLX, not something I even have. So I don't even have that name. I'm all liberated out, to be honest with you. Yeah, names stand exactly. Names like Affirm, they'll benefit greatly from this. UPST, they look like cousins the way these things are trading. But the Sophies of the world will go up. Like that'll probably have a really good day. Hood should have like a really good day. Those kinds of names are 100% going to lift on this. Like, there's no question about it. So I think that kind of stuff can 100% push. I just think you have to understand that you're going to have a little bit of a shift here, and you're going to start seeing small caps kind of lift on this as a whole. And I think they're going to go after regional banks now. That's where I think they're going to go with it. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see how that plays out. That's really where my head is with it all, and going from there. You never know what you're going to get here. You just don't know. But my sense of it, if you had to look at this, forget about the day. If you had to look at this from a long-term perspective, like what happens, I don't know how you're not going higher. Like, I just don't know how you wouldn't push on this. So I do. I think that you will push on this, and I think that you will go higher. I don't see how you don't. But, you never know. But you might not today, but in the future, you're definitely going to. Maybe you're overbought, but I don't see it that way. You can't even drop, man. Like, you can't even drop $1. Like, nothing's dropping. You're just sitting there. And, if you would start selling off, that'd be one thing, but you're not selling off. You're just kind of hovering in this area while everyone's trying to figure out what to do. Let's go take a look at some of this other stuff, see what it's doing. Let's go take a look at the ES. You're just hovering, nothing to do. Hovering. So it's interesting. Yeah, the Tesla short, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that it's holding so well, but it is. So, I really am. I'm very surprised that it's holding the way that it is, but it is. So, he pushed that back, and you see where you were this morning. And then, they kind of like did this little like weird social media bromance hug, and then the stock shot up. I'm really surprised that it's up on the fact that he's postponing this thing, but it is. And it is what it is. I mean, I came in short, it's in my face. So whatever, on to the next trade. But you got shorts trapped there, man. Like, you couldn't even hedge that, like the 325 puts when you came in this morning. So they're hosed. So just think about it that way. Like, they're completely, utterly hosed. So it's a thing for sure. Keep coming down. See what you do here. They're host for now. You never know, but they're definitely host for now. Just watch this stuff until you're starting to break down a little bit. And the question is, do you undercut that and then snap back, or do you come all the way back down? What you'd want to do is mark this off here, and not so much the 61.8, but I would want to watch that 50 level and then go from there and say, all right, are we going to break that 50? Are you going to break that? Are you going to get net sellers, or, is it going to flip? I don't know that it's going to flip here. I'd watch this super carefully and go from there. But I don't know that you're going to flip there. Watch it. See what it does. I think it means that they're going to buy bonds. I think the bond auction would go very well today. I think bond auction today, and then you have the 30-year coming out, I think, tomorrow, right? So I think that that'll move really well. Oh, they're so off. They were so off. Yeah, I don't know that you really want to be buying gold and silver right now. I would think that gold has a pretty bad day, but maybe they'll find a reason to buy it, and they'll buy the dip in it. But I would think, and there I go again thinking, but I would think that it has a really bad day because you're going to start buying bonds, and you don't need the inflation hedge. So as much as I torment itchy, like inflation's coming down, admit, and inflation's coming down with everything else going on. So it's super interesting right now to look at that and go, oh yeah, inflation's coming in, and trying to figure out, what to do with it at this particular time. And I find it fascinating. So it is what it is, but from my perspective, yeah, definitely. Oracle earnings are going to be fascinating too. APLD, I think you have to be careful with these smaller names right now because they all came in hard yesterday. So they're going to rally them this morning, and then they might just do that dump. I don't know that I'd be doing a lot there on the smaller cap side of like the high flying tech names. I think the real money is going to be made in understanding like the nuance of today, and that you're going to start seeing regionals get bought. Like what are institutions going to do about what came out today? You know what I mean? Like what are institutions going to do? They're going to buy regional banks. I mean, that's what they're going to do. They're definitely going to buy regional banks. There's no doubt about it. But what we want to do is just kind of like watch how this whole thing plays out and go from there. And my sense of this, you're fighting that 50% line. My sense of this is that you're going to be in, you should lift on this. Now, maybe you sell the news on the day and then rally later, but yeah, if you're not buying like regionals and looking at that stuff, I think you're off now, especially going into PPI tomorrow too, because PPI last time was really bad and it did really well. So I would definitely watch that as well. Trying to see if there's anything really moving here that's worth talking about that's really jumping. It's like everybody's kind of in shock. I'm wondering if they should be selling this stuff or what they should be doing. I think Sophie does count as a regional. Yeah, TLT should rally hard on this. Like the TLT, TMF, like that is the simplest trade in the world. And you can see it in the first minute what it did. And then if you just waited for these stuff to pull back, you would have done better. But to me, yeah, like this is just the simplest stuff in the world here to take a look at this and go, all right, you should be holding really well here on a lot of this stuff, especially bonds. Yeah, like hands down, you should be holding on bonds. There's no question about that. But it's always fascinating to me what they do. Do they sell the news? Do they not? You're seeing a little bit of that right now. The question is for how long? I don't have an answer to that. No one ever does. But it definitely benefits. Like regionals benefit from this greatly, greatly, and so does RTY. So it should be fun to watch the day play out and go from there. I do feel that I do feel like the dip is going to get bought, but we'll say I don't know what else the issue could be. It could be the 10-year, unless the 10-year goes off poor today, right? And what time's that come out? 1. So you're going to want to watch that. And then you have 8:30 PPI, which was huge for the market last time. And I just don't see how that's going to be bad this time. I really don't. So, overall, you couldn't have asked for better numbers. Like if you're in equities and you're looking longer term, you really couldn't have asked for better numbers. I'm surprised the market is so muted here, but maybe it doesn't stay that way, or maybe it's tired too. It could just be tired. So we'll see how it goes. What else we got here? What time is it? Is it 8:55 already? Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Thanks, John. Let's see this. RH, I think the thing with RH is their worst case scenario is no longer their worst case scenario. And I think that's what's important about it. Like their worst case scenario on the tariff side is no longer their worst case scenario. And it was the height of it during during that. It was like, they were like, hey, we don't know what the heck's going to happen here. And then you never really got below that April 8th, April 9th level. So they might come out and say, hey, things are not as bad as we once thought they were going to be. That's definitely a possibility. And that's how I look at it. But, we're going to have to see how that plays out here. I'm not really sure on that yet. I'm going to have to watch that like a hawk. But I'm not really sure on that yet. Like, how does that play out? Man, it's anybody's guess. Look, man, like, you never know what happens here. Like, here's earnings. They're fantastic. Here's earnings. They're a dumpster fire, but the stock takes out tries to take out the high. Here, they're a dumpster fire. Like, you never know what you're getting here. Oh, look, we beat and they crushed by 45%. Oh, we're going to get smoked. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get there ever. And take that for what it's worth. Thanks, Stephen. Appreciate it. Some of that stuff looks great, like ACHR, those names. I think NVIDIA looks fantastic, but it's really one of those things where you might just want to let it all settle in, but I don't know how you don't push on this. That's just my sense of it. I certainly don't know how RTY doesn't go higher. The question is how much of this has been like baked in. And I don't think a whole heck of a lot of it is. Now you're fighting that area in here and it looks like you're going to break that 50% line, which means you can get a retest of this level, but futures are dirty. So you never know what you're going to get. For me, what I would be looking for is something like that Q level here and saying, hey, if I come back down, like if I sold down to here, that's going to be very attractive to me to see if we hold here. And you might bounce down that way. You might come down that way. So I definitely want to watch that. But from my perspective and looking at this, yeah, 100%. It's definitely something that I'm interested in now. You got through the hurdle. So what's the next hurdle? Tariffs, right? Like, what's the next real big hurdle for the market now? This tariff talk. That's it. Would I short HIMS? No, I don't think so. I mean, why? What would be the purpose? I don't have a catalyst. If it broke here, you could look at the short, but I don't know that you're going to break there. I just keep looking at this stuff and I don't see any reason to think that, that this is something that I have to concern myself with. Market-wise, like this pullback. I actually think it's a benefit, the pullback. But let's take a look here what you got. And let's look at this from that perspective as well and see where you are. I usually come in these 50% lines and then they become battlegrounds like this is doing. See it? Doesn't mean you don't break, but they become battlegrounds. Let's take a look at this one and then go from there. Same, the 50% market. They're not fib levels, but it tells you who's in charge. You have net buyers and net sellers. And that's really what you're looking for. Like, are they going to hold? I don't know if they do or not, but you always want to watch those levels. What else we got? Netflix, you would watch that. Now, rate cuts are good for the market. People always say rate cuts are bad for the market. Rate cuts are bad for the market if you're in a recession. Rate cuts are fantastic for the market. You have to look at why they're doing the cutting. I don't know what that's like a big thing on Twitter. Like, they always think that rate cuts are bad for the market. It's 9 o'clock. I got to jump, guys. I'd watch this level. I'd watch that key level there. I got to jump. I got to hop in the room. Trade to win today, guys.